Okay, we are recording, and we are going to start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, new Onewheel video coming at ya. So today we are going to be talking all about the fangs for the Onewheel Pint from Landsurf. Right now I'm giving you a little panoramic view after I did the install. It replaces the front fender and throws two little wheels on there, and yeah, it's pretty neat. So why do you need something like fangs? The number one complaint that you'll wind up finding on the internet about Onewheel is the danger of the nosedive, which is when you're going at full speed or even at not full speed, the nose diving down and all of a sudden you getting thrown over the handlebars. This is an attempt to mitigate that problem by basically putting small little wheels up on the front bumper that will allow the Onewheel to, if it hits the ground, to roll out for a few seconds, as opposed to going straight to launching you head over, right over the handlebars and ending up with kind of a nasty fall. So this, if for the faint of heart, here is video of me riding. It would be bad. So close your eyes here if you don't want to see a fall. Bam! Boom! Wasted. So this is a couple months ago, and what you can see happen is I'm riding through pushback, the nose bites, and then I go flying. And whack! And thankfully, I have some decent rollover capability and kind of rolled out of it. But you can see right here the nose bites, and it's not that the engine winds up cutting out because your foot now has no pressure on the pad, and all of that momentum just goes right into the ground, and then you go flying. That's happened to me twice since I've got on my Onewheel. Both times are 100% user error, but it still is not an awesome thing to have happen. The first time it happened, I was riding uphill and didn't really notice the amount of pushback the board was giving me. And as I got higher on that uphill, a car went by me, and I kind of got caught up in the car's speed and was almost following the car up the hill. And right as the hill flattened out, I now had way too much pressure on that front foot pad and wound up clipping the ground. But by some miracle, even though I was at full speed, I was able to run it out and just end up with a bruised ego more than anything else. The second time it happened, I had switched my board over to Skyline and was still getting used to it, but also for the most part was ignoring what pushback really was and how it was coming on, and got myself into some trouble. So we'll take a step back there. Pushback is what happens when, on the Pint at least, it gets up over 14 miles per hour. What happens is the nose lifts up to basically signify that you're reaching. Just to give a little interruption here, this is one of the only things I noticed with the Fang so far. When you're messing around with curb nudges and all that and bouncing around, if that nose now bites and hits, instead of skidding and stopping, it now wants to roll out. But whatever, we'll get into that more. But so I was ignoring the pushback quite a bit and got very comfortable just sitting right in that pushback state where the nose is lifted up, but it'll still work just fine. And then what happened is I was then again on an uphill, and the battery power was getting lower, and I wasn't paying attention and didn't feel how much I started overpowering that nose again. And so what happens is exactly what that video showed. Nose went down, I went flying, and because I wasn't in that moment paying attention very well, I wasn't really able to run it out and ended up with some nasty road rash. Thankfully, that was it. But I've heard plenty of stories of other people taking far worse injuries. But so that's where the fangs come in. The fangs are supposed to, by putting those wheels up on the nose, if that exact same situation happened and the nose bit, it's not going to bring me 14 miles to zero instantly, which is the problem and why you get thrown off the board. You're going to be able to, in theory, recover, come off, go, push all the way back onto your heel, put it back onto your back leg, and slow down. So for me, and with what I do, I think that's kind of a good thing. I really have no interest in when I'm half paying attention one wheeling, getting thrown off because I did something stupid. Here I'm actually, what's funny is I'm actually actively trying to get the nose to bite. And of course today, and also because it is just so against the grain of what I want the one wheel to do, I was having a real hard time getting that nose to hit. But once or twice I actually get it to kind of check down. And it just, because the board is running under optimal conditions and those wheels are hitting, the board is able to recover and you're just coming right back onto your back leg and everything's perfectly fine. So having those wheels on there, it is a nice like seatbelt of sorts. Like I don't want it to have to happen and I don't want the nose to ever clip. But if it's going to be the difference between me ending up with some gnarly scars and just riding away smooth, it's 100% worth the investment. You can see here again, I'm just trying to like check that nose into the ground, but I'm just kind of so timidly doing it because I don't really want to actually crash. But yeah. So where are we at? We're 6 minutes in here. Summary wise, the Fangs, well, at least, are a really, really good idea and seem like a really, really good solution to the pushback problem. And there's no problem inherently with the pushback or the one wheel, but this winds up being a way to ride a little safer and with a little more trust in the system that even if the worst case scenario happens, because I've actually had a couple situations where at lower speeds, I've accidentally kind of overpowered the nose and clipped, and usually I'm always able to run that out. But if I now had wheels there that are going to be able to help roll it out a little bit, I'm going to be a lot happier. Even over here, I think in a second or two, I'm like doing like a really slow speed turn, and I dig the nose into the ground, but instead of the nose digging in, the wheel hits and it just spins right around. You can also notice I'm doing a really poor job here of doing some curb bonks and curb nudges. What I was saying before when I was messing around, it's going to take me a little time to get used to it. Sometimes when you're getting that nudge over, the nose is digging into the curb on the other side. Now, instead of digging into plastic, it's digging into wheels. So the board now, if your weight is too far back, wants to spit out in front of you almost like a regular skateboard. So, and the more and more I kind of practice and mess around, I just have to be aware of that to know that now that the nose of the board will no longer just dig into the ground. It wants to move, which I think will actually be good in the long run. It'll just take a little time to get used to. But yeah, right there, actually, the nose just dug in, but it's on a wheel, so it doesn't really matter. In terms of the build quality on the Fangs is cool. It came in a cool box and all that. The installation was a piece of cake. I actually had to, it comes in with the wheels not installed, and you install it into the front, which I like because that means you can replace them if they get broken, or if the bearings get rusted out or anything like that. You can just replace it, which is very nice. And then you take the front bumper out, clip in the new one. The only, I don't know if it's an issue or build quality thing, and I'm going to play around and see if I can tighten it up and if it makes a difference. But the one wheel sounds so good when it's riding because it feels so solid in one piece. The two wheels that make up the front of the Fangs are rattling ever so slightly, like little plasticky sound. So I really want to, it's not that big a deal, but I'd rather not make that noise. That simply might just be the nature of having those two little wheels there, but I am going to be able to tighten them up, and that might make a difference. It might make it rattle a little bit less. But yeah, that's cool. The other big thing about the Fangs, make it like 100%, I think every single pint owner should buy them, is the handle. This is the first time there is a real handle on the nose that you can actually use. And even if the Fangs came with no wheels and it was just now a front fender or a front bumper that has a handle on it, it would be 100% worth the purchase. I've already found myself, I've only had this on for a couple days, but find myself now always picking up the board with this front handle now. And that's not to say that the float plate that I have on there doesn't have this small little insert that they're trying to make it a handle. The problem is there's just not enough space for them to make that handle there, so you really can't grab it and then your thumb winds up grabbing the grip tape and it doesn't feel that good. Whereas this, there's a nice deep cut into the bumper and you're really able to sink your fingers into it, and just a small pinch of the grip tape on the other side, you can actually hold it. Most of the weight is going into your fingertips, holding the nose of the board. So it really does. It just works awesome. Like if I'm just normally riding and like whatever, I drop my board or I get somewhere and I want to pick it up, it's much easier just to kind of reach for the nose and pick it up versus reaching to the middle of the board and picking up the mag handle. Sure, for like longer carrying, I think I would probably use the mag handle. But like if I just, go into a stop and need to pick up the board, I'd much rather pick it up from the nose. So that in itself, I have no idea how no other company, or at least none that I know of, make a bumper that has that handle on it. But it's just buy it. Like it's super duper smart. We're kind of catching up on the ride here. I don't know if you've noticed that gigantic red welt on my leg, but that's where I took a nasty box jump to the shin. But whatever. And this kind of ride has been going around my town a little bit and then into the Spooky Psych Center, which I've talked about before, which is kind of a state park. Let me eat that root real quick and we'll get back to riding. But yeah, it was just a nice little ride through some abandoned buildings on the North Shore of Long Island and then crashing into another route. Yeah, and it's funny because, so even there, I just grabbed the nose of the board and just yanked it forward. Before, you wouldn't have been able to do that easily. So I really do like how that handle works. But even here on like rutty trails like this, there are situations where when you're climbing uphill that the nose would dig in. Being able to actually push the nose all the way down when you're going uphill and knowing you're going to get a speed check instead of a full stop is very helpful, especially on the Pint, which isn't as capable on trails. But it does allow you a little more leeway and saves you from a couple nose digs here and there. But yeah, coming out of the trails, packing back onto the sidewalks. But yeah, so Fangs, I'm a big fan. Only things to be on the lookout for is realizing if you're doing tons and tons of curb nudges, and that's the only thing that matters to you, you are going to have to change your technique a little bit because there are now wheels on the front of the board. So if you were relying on digging that nose in and then sliding it through, it's now going to slide a lot more on you. So you just have to get used to that. But beyond that, I just can't imagine not having these on simply for the sake of safety. Like, I not that I'm not going to worry about falling, but it gives me one more thing to know that if that nose did drop, like whatever, there's some catastrophic problem where the power went out, I will be able to, in theory, ride it out much better, or be able to decelerate a bit more than going from 14 miles an hour to 0 and then hoping my sprint is really good that day. So really solid product. And then I would buy it even if it didn't have the features it has, simply because of the handle on the front. I'm very happy that it has one. And it really makes the board that much more comfortable to be walking around with and using. So pretty psyched on it. I'll take it into the shop and give it a tightening up to make sure those wheels are on properly and they're not too loose. And that's pretty much it, man. So super happy with how that went on. And up next, I am looking to do a little upgrade on the fender. Get one of those new Craft and Ride magnetic jammies. And yeah, it should be pretty cool. So we'll just let it ride out, coming around the burbs. And right now, actually going downhill pretty quickly. And you get a real nice profile shot of those wheels popping out ever so slightly. They don't really change your ground clearance at all or anything. And yeah, just let it ride out, bring it all the way back home. Popping up to the sidewalk for a minute. You know, always a nice way to make the ride more exciting. Just carving some concrete powder. All right, we're wrapping it up. We're getting up the sidewalk, almost back to the house. Again, thank you for checking out the videos. Appreciate it. All the thumbs up, comments. Anything stupid you want me to do with the board, let me know. I enjoy making these little videos and enjoy your likes and comments. So yeah, enjoy coming into the driveway. Meow. And it very strangely, really off my game today. Very lackluster skid stop. And there we go. And look, picking it up from the handle, putting it in the old Float Life stand. And that's a wrap. See ya.